What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Eric's house, and today I'll be reviewing the new Ghostbusters movie, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which I had a chance to check out opening night, just now getting a chance to review it, but I rather enjoyed this movie right off the bat. I thought it was a fun movie and a worthy entry in this franchise. That said, definitely it wasn't my favorite in the franchise. In fact, it might be my second to worst movie in the franchise, the worst being, of course, Ghostbusters 2016, as it's called. The other movies, I mean, it's really tough to compete with the original two. I love Ghostbusters 2, and the original Ghostbusters, of course, is amazing. And then Ghostbusters Afterlife, I thought was a great film. I really enjoyed that one. I loved the emotions at the end with the return of Egon there and the way that they brought him back. Very nice touch. And that movie, it had emotions, it had some humor, and I thought it was a great kind of reboot to the franchise. And here we have a sequel with all of the characters from that movie, all of the main players from Afterlife coming back, which is really cool to see. A lot of franchises try these reboots, requels, soft reboots or whatever, and they want to make a new trilogy or at least a new sequence of movies, but then the movie bombs, people don't like it, and they don't make another one. And then they'll try again. The Terminator franchise comes to mind. How many times did they keep trying to start a new trilogy? Failed, try it again, failed, try it again, failed. Try it again recently with Dark Fate. Apparently we're not getting a sequel to that. So that happens in a few franchises. It's really nice to see that Afterlife at least had enough success and was praised enough by the fans and the critics that we at least got a sequel to that. And we see Paul Rudd back. Really cool to see Finn Wolfhard is back. I'll talk about his role in the movie though. McKenna Grace and everyone from that last movie back here in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and it's really cool to see them. But they also bring back the OG characters, the ones who are still with us, and all three of them, Bill Murray back, Dan Aykroyd back, Ernie Hudson back, and they also introduce new characters, and some of them are really fun and interesting. So I actually love all the characters in this movie. That's my first pro. My first positive for the movie is just the cast and the characters. Although, as I'll talk about a little later, maybe there's too many of them, but individually, I like them all. And I thought that the premise, the main plot of this movie is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool idea, especially the way this movie starts. Really interesting, going way back in time and everyone suddenly goes frozen. And I won't get into the details, it's a non-spoiler, but I just thought that premise, the Frozen Empire title and the idea of this villain, of this ghost who's causing everything to freeze, where the normal way that they take care of ghosts doesn't work against this ghost. So they have to find a different way. And it really expands on the lore of the Ghostbusters franchise without bringing anything stupid or changing the rules ridiculously like in other franchises. Hello, Star Wars. Everything is basically in line with what you would expect, but really cool. I just didn't think they focused on that plot enough because there's so many side stuff going on, as I'll talk about. But I thought the main premise of this movie, the reason it was titled Frozen Empire, I thought all of that was really kick-ass. There were some good laughs in the movie. I wasn't laughing all the way through or anything. That's not really Ghostbusters. It's kind of gone a little more family friendly. But for what it was, got some laughs, got a few thrills, a few, but not many. But a lot of the laughs I got, while I did laugh, kind of cut into those thrills or cut into some of the potential horror. And I'm not saying they got to go full R horror, but they could make some good horror and make people scared. I mean, I'm never scared in this movie, or the new Ghostbusters movie I don't think will ever scare me, which is, not great. You want to have a little bit of horror, a little bit of tension there. Not a whole lot, because there's always a joke to kind of lighten the mood. But at least a lot of them were funny in this. So I'll give it that. I loved Dan Aykroyd in this movie. I thought he was great. Bill Murray not played a big role. Ernie Hudson had an interesting part, but what they do matches their characters. Their characters were not changed, and it's so awesome to see them. And it makes sense they're not going to be out full-time Ghostbusters anymore. At their age now, they're doing other things, but what they're doing, just like in the last movie, continues to match their characters, and their personalities seem very, very similar. I will say Bill Murray, his one-liners weren't as good as they usually are, even in the last movie. Definitely not as good as the first two movies. So Bill Murray's lines and jokes I didn't think were quite on par with normally what you would expect from Dr. Peter Venkman. So I'll say that, but I still enjoyed seeing the OG characters back. And I'll say McKenna Grace's character, Phoebe, gets some really, she's the focus here, and she gets a lot of character development here. Everything that we saw from her from the past movie is just expanded on here. Unfortunately, with everything going on as we go into the negatives, that's just the problem. There is a lot going on in this movie, a lot of characters. A lot of characters. Like I said, the OG is back. The new characters from the last movie, and then yet more new characters. This new guy who doesn't know what's going on, but turns out he's an extremely important individual named Nadim. He is hilarious in this movie. He's super funny. But there's moments where things got to get serious, but they just never do. Anytime he's on screen, it's for jokes. But he's a main character going up towards the third act when everything is shit's hitting the fan, but he's still around, so you know it's always going to be lighthearted, like I said. So, but he's funny. I'll give him that. I thought so. Finn Wolfhard is back in this movie. He had nothing to do in this movie. Absolutely no reason to be there other than to say I'm an adult, I'm 18 a few times, and he has a little funny spat with Slimer, who's back in this movie because Slimer has to be in a Ghostbusters movie. Evidently, I didn't so much mind that, but also the Marshmallow Men making cameos. It's like we had all these cameos in the last movie. I kind of feel like it's time to move on. We can't keep on living off of the original movies. There were some really cool callbacks. There was a callback in the library that calls back to the very first scene of the original movie. I thought was really cool to see that again. I thought that was nice. So, I don't mean to pick and choose when the fan service is okay and when it's not, but I'll just say there was just too much of it. You already have so much going on. I thought they could have really focused on this new story. Just focus on making something kick-ass. Don't keep worrying about callbacks. A few, sure, but let's make another awesome movie. The original movie is awesome. It didn't need to do callbacks. Original movies just create their own awesome stuff. We need to create more awesome stuff. And there was a few cool moments in this movie for sure, but when you're so focused on fan service, I think you lose focus on just making a really kick-ass movie. And again, this wasn't like the worst movie, the worst offender, but I thought a little too much there. But there was some cool concepts here. The concept of the ghosts are maybe going to escape from where they've been held in the firehouse for all these years. They didn't think about it in the 80s. We didn't think about it in the 80s and 90s. We just throw them in there. You think we were thinking about, what about 2024? And so that's how they were rolling back then. It made sense to me. And they had this problem and needed to solve this issue. That was a cool situation because there was building some tension here. And some of the new ghosts that were introduced are pretty cool. One major negative I have is the same from the last movie. And I've already kind of touched on how the humor is a little much. But, joking around and making jokes when kids hanging out the car, he could die any second. I mean, and the parents are in there joking, go, whoa, driving around the car. Well, I guess they're not technically the parents because the guy's kind of a, stepdad, even though they're not married, but, he's their teacher, former teacher, blah, blah, blah. I get that. But they're kind of acting as both parents right now. And yeah, they're joking around. It's all for jokes, even though they're flying down the street. Cars are going everywhere. They're trying to get a ghost. This little girl's out there, going outside the car in the little device here, in the little chair that swings out of the car and trying to capture ghosts. This should be like war-like situation, like seriously. I mean, I get that this is a lighthearted movie, but I can't take the movie serious when everyone's joking around. It kind of reminds me of some of the Jurassic World movies where, dinosaurs are chasing y'all and people are joking. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be joking in some of these moments. It's just a pet peeve of mine. Honestly, it's not something that bothers most people, but I do have to throw it out there. But overall, I found a lot of enjoyment in this one. And I think that I'll be happy to rewatch this one anytime I watch the franchise. The only one that gets a skip is Ghostbusters 2016. Movie's just not great. I did a review on it if you want to check that one out. But that one I didn't think was funny or enjoyable whatsoever. As far as this new movie, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, I'm going to say that it's very good. I don't think it's quite great, though. I think it's not quite as good as the previous, but I'm going to say it's good, not great. I would recommend it. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Certainly nothing wrong with it. Certainly it was slightly better than I expected. I heard the reviews were bad. I really thought it was going to be a train wreck. And some might say it is. Some might say it's way too convoluted, pretty damn convoluted. There's a lot going on in this movie. And I thought maybe they didn't have to bring back everybody from the last movie. They brought back the podcasters. They brought back almost anyone who had any type of significant role in the last movie is back. And but for this particular movie, I'm glad the OGs were back because they were really enjoyable, especially Dan Aykroyd. I thought he was great. But let me know what you guys think of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Hope you all enjoyed it. I did. I thought it was pretty good. But that's just me. You guys have a great day. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. And we will see you next time.